The childcare crisis in the U.S. is a complex issue with both personal and economic consequences. On the demand side, families often struggle to both find quality childcare and afford it. The average cost of full-time care is between $12,000 and $24,000 per child. On the supply side, before the pandemic, we had a shortage of childcare workers, and today there are 100,000 fewer childcare workers than there was before the pandemic. And now we have another headwind. The American Rescue Plan, which was one of the pandemic emergency programs, provided $24 billion in subsidies to child care centers that suddenly had an even more acute shortage of workers. With the reality of fewer working-age people in the U.S., many of those former child care workers found easier office work or remote work that usually paid better and often with benefits. Owners of child care centers had to raise wages to compete, and most of the $24 billion was used to help cover those wage increases. This kept a lot of child care centers operational. But on September 30th, that funding expires. More than 70,000 child care programs are expected to close, and 3 million child slots will disappear. In Colorado, 83,000 children will lose their child care slots. And as I mentioned last week, we have the additional challenge of student loan payments resuming in October. What about the young families who must work and also pay for childcare? What hasn't been working well is about to get worse. I think back to when my 5 kids were young and how my husband and I made the decision for me to work part-time and mostly from home, a privilege. But I also have a lot of education, and yet the math didn't work for us to pay for childcare even for one child. This is one instance where I think society would benefit from both public and private subsidies. A few years ago, my office did a return on investment analysis for early childhood education for 4-year-olds. For every dollar the government put into the program, it got back $1.20 because more parents are able to return to work, pay taxes, and there are reductions in federal assistance programs like food stamps. In the long run, child outcomes are better and the return on investment increases to $1.30. These are sound investments, not handouts, that increase our global competitiveness and allow families to work and thrive.